Hi there, I'm Jeannie Fuller, and I'm excited to talk about unsolicited referrals. The best kind you could possibly have, right? Well, you could set it up to do that. So as we watch this, you can see where Bob is making assumptions he shouldn't be making, and it just stifled his own growth. And on the other hand, Paul had a very compelling little snippet that turned me into a loudmouth, and the referrals started pouring in. It is amazing. So you're going to watch for the assumptions that stifle growth, and then think about what Paul did that made a huge difference. Okay?
I have a client named Bob, and I knew he could help my neighbor, and so I wanted to make an introduction. Bob was pleased about that, and I said I would set up a meeting for the two of them to get together. Bob was over here, and when I asked him, what should I tell my neighbor, he's going, oh, you've known me for so many years, Jeannie, you know exactly what to say. And I'm sweating it out. I've become very reluctant to go talk to my neighbor, and I just couldn't understand it because Bob is experienced. He's got a stellar record. He was perfect. And yet I don't want to go talk to my neighbor. I finally discovered I didn't know what to say. I didn't have any way of introducing it. So there was no clear story to tell. And that's the power of illusions, because I knew Bob's advantages, but I didn't have a story. And so it was very unclear, and I felt like I was going to have to give the commercial. On the other hand, I had another client named Paul, and he sparked my interest with a very compelling story about how he helped a client. It was really a fun story, and I was excited about it. But Paul, although he was experienced, probably didn't have the same track record of Bob, but he did have an interesting story. And you know what? I became a loudmouth. I started telling Paul's story just spontaneously and interested 3 people in talking to Paul without really thinking about it. It was amazing. For Bob, the question he should have been saying was, am I making some assumptions that I shouldn't have been making? That's a very important thing to consider. In fact, I'd like to say to you, are you making assumptions you shouldn't be making? Because that's what happened. You see, when you do that, you shoot yourself in the foot. That's right, Bob. If you think they know, you don't coach them. So what could you do differently? You coach them covertly, low-key, then they discover how they could be a help and find a referral for you. Yes, it may be a big aha, and you realize that you've been stifling your own growth. So let's look at that. The difference was Bob assumed erroneously, but Paul coached effectively, and I became a loudmouth. Amazing, isn't it? That's where the power is, in the coaching. You see, I knew all the benefits, but I had no opening and no transition when I was talking about Bob. On the other hand, I didn't need an opening or a transition because the story was so interesting, and I just started telling it spontaneously. So the whole thing boils down to coaching your clients, your centers of influence, and friends to recommend you powerfully. The choice is up to you. You can hold on to your assumptions, or you can start coaching referral sources so they become a loudmouth on your prospecting team.
So let's take a lesson from Paul. That compelling little snippet made a huge difference. So I was out there talking to my friends and just sharing his good news. It was amazing, and got him actually 3 referrals. Too cool. Now you can do the same thing, but it takes looking at how can you kind of twist some of the results you produced into a compelling little snippet. And when we get to our 8-week program called Referrals for Profit, you'll learn exactly how to do that so that you can get unsolicited referrals. But in the meantime, it's also important that you learn how to suggest to someone that they might in turn suggest to someone else that they sit down and talk to you. That's it. And on our next video, it's going to come to you in just a couple more days, we're going to show you, well, an example. It's kind of a metaphor, has nothing to do with business, but it proves a way and a system that's very believable if you will put it into practice. It does work, that you can actually double the number of prolific referral sources, prolific centers of influence who regularly bring you solicited or unsolicited referrals. So don't miss that one either. I'll see you on that video.